Yeah, I first discovered your videos when I found out I wanted to automate a lot of my manual tasks.
Yeah,
And
don't we all?
yeah, absolutely. And once I was able to look at your videos and able to modify it to my needs, I've been able to really speed up my efficiency exponentially. And you had mentioned that how has VBA helped progress in your career? And it really got me thinking because I'm coming from a standpoint where I'm not in a technical field. I'm more
Hmm.
in a business, corporate, supply chain industry, but I use VBA, Excel, and other high level tools just to get my work done better and faster. But the issue I've been facing is that I can tell that my colleagues or senior managers, higher ups, they kind of stereotype a person that is an expert in those types of tools, and thinking that that's all you're good at. And I wanted to know how to marry those two types of personalities together to demonstrate to companies, to your bosses, that you do provide value, and you can be seen as a leader.
Yeah, think that's a great question. So it sounds like it can be a bit of a double-edged sword, these technical skills. So you said if we can speed up all this manual work and VBA, it's macros and magic, and there's all of these benefits. But yeah, we can risk being pigeonholed, I suppose, because people see you as a technical person. I would say you've got to focus relentlessly on the context. Focus relentlessly on the context. So not the content of what you're doing. So not the code, the context. So how does the code create value for people? How does the code save people time? How does the code somehow support the company strategy? So that's what we really got to try to do as coders. I think there's two benefits here. That's going to help your career, but it's also, I think you're also doing a favor for the coding community. The more relevant we can make coding to everybody's lives, and if we can communicate the benefits better, that's better for all of us. So I'd say, yeah, we've got to focus relentlessly on the context.
Right, right. To not go into more of the technical details, but on a high level, just demonstrate what it does and how it provides value.
Sure. So does this mean, are you actually kind of hiding your VBA skills a bit at the moment because you don't want to be pigeonholed in that way?
Right, right. And there's a few reasons for that. And to your point, right, I don't want to be seen as a type of person that just sits at a desk all day, all hours throughout the night, just clacking away at the keyboard, creating code. But also the time I save doing, my day-to-day activities, I like to use that time to perhaps brush up on more of these skills, these tools that I use, or perhaps to catch up on some other work. Letting everyone know that I can do a task which took somebody maybe all day to do, I can do it in a click of a button now kind of might backfire, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. And it could lead to lots of similar requests as well, I suppose, that you might not necessarily want, which can lead to that kind of characterization as being a technical person, I suppose.
That's a good point. You're right. Absolutely. So, Chris, I poked around your LinkedIn and I couldn't help but notice that at the beginning of your career, you were in a vastly different field. Curious to know how you started from there and became to where you are today.
Thanks for watching Coffee with Chris. Now, if you sign up to the Tiger mailing list, I am going to send you a free video all about how to manage Excel spreadsheet projects. More details in the description. Let's get back into it. Early in my career, well, I was out of university and I worked for 4 years in Japan. Actually, I worked for 2 years as a language teacher in a high school in northern Japan. And then I worked for 2 years at a public relations company in Tokyo, small public relations company, doing public relations for European and US technological companies. So yeah, certainly in the beginning, I was using what we call soft skills, I suppose, communication. And if you're living in a foreign country, you're always using communication skills. But for me, I don't know, looking back at it now, I can see how everything did fit together, because back then I was using language skills, but I'm still using language skills now. It's just that I'm using a computer programming language rather than a human language, or maybe both at the same time. So I think what inspires me is this story from Steve Jobs, and I did a video about this on the channel. You can find it on the channel somewhere, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, James. But there's a famous YouTube video where Jobs is speaking to some Stanford graduates, some students who've just graduated, trying to give them one of those inspirational speeches, and it is so interesting. And what you learn about Jobs is he didn't have a conventional college career. He actually dropped out of college, but he didn't physically leave campus. He used to kind of go around campus and join in classes that were interesting to him, which sounds like a great university life. And he ended up going to a calligraphy class, and he ended up getting very interested in and quite good at calligraphy, which is, of course, ornate letter writing. He tells us how it all fits together because Apple, of course, invented this, the modern typeface that we associate with word processors these days. And Jobs invented that. And he says in this speech, the only way I was able to invent that is because I had done this calligraphy class in college. So it says to me, sometimes I think we try too hard to make things fit together in a rational and logical way. I think sometimes it's worthwhile just kind of following your passions a bit, following your instincts, and kind of having faith in the process. You know, things will make sense later. And although I'm certainly not comparing myself to Steve Jobs, you know, I'm like pond life compared to somebody like him, but I have managed to carve out a career that calls on different skill sets, but they're not kind of in competition with each other. They kind of synergize nicely together to create value for people. So that's how I view it anyway. And James, what's your kind of technical background? I mean, what's your kind of mix of qualifications?
Now, yeah, actually, my background is similar to you in that I come from two very different industries. Initially, I was working at the hospital for quite some time, and I was very focused on starting my career there. I wanted to do that. I love helping people. I still do, just in a different capacity. I got exposed to Lean and Six Sigma over there, which is like these efficiency methodologies in like a warehouse setting, but applicable in various settings. And that's what really exposed me to supply chain and wanting to study that. So I have a bachelor's of science in supply chain, and my technical abilities, I didn't really learn anything at school. It's just that once I entered the workforce in the corporate environment, I had realized how heavy Excel use was. And noticing that I'm doing a lot of these repetitive tasks, I knew, because of that lean mindset I have, I knew there had to be a better way. And of course there was, with VBA and other high-level tools within Excel with like Power Query, Power Pivot. So that's what really got me into tinkering with VBA and just other types of code, dabbling with Python now as well.
Cool. I think a lot of the viewers on the channel, that your story is going to resonate with them. I think a lot of people on the channel, they're not computer programmers necessarily, but they're people who have kind of got into code out of necessity and out of, appreciating the possibilities, seeing other people do it. But for me, that's what code should be. It should primarily be a practical thing that people can tap into when they need to in their career, and it can sit alongside their existing skills rather than creating this tension with their existing skills.